What up, boys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing the new 20-win challenge, which isn't actually out yet as I record this, but it's coming to the game and that's when you'll see this video. So 20-win challenges in all are like the hardest thing in Royale. It's something stupid like 20,000 players out of a few million actually got 20 wins in the first challenge. So to sort of expect that you'll get it is, it's a very long shot, but if you're good enough, there's a high possibility. We'll get into like all of those reasons at the end of the video, but first we're going to start with 5 decks that you might want to try in the challenge. So first is a pretty modern style deck that we're putting on screen. It's Pekka Ram Rider. So this deck is like extremely defensive. It relies on the Ram Rider and the Pekka to do defending against most win conditions, and then has another semi-win condition in the Bandit to get towers. It doesn't cycle too well because a lot of the troops are pretty costly, and it focuses on using Pekkas and Ram Riders alternatively on defense to actually not take damage. So what it means is if you play against like 2.6, you use a Pekka against the Hog one time, then a Ram Rider the next. This means that even the cheapest of decks like 2.6 struggle to outcycle you because you always have at least one of those counters in hand. Once you use one of these units, you're free to push in with it with stuff like Baby Dragons, Electro Wizards, Bandits, and essentially you focus on that counter push because most of your cards work well on offense and defense. For example, an Electro Wizard defending a Hog now will work on offense with a Bandit. Next we go over a more classic deck in Expo 2.9. This deck is like the obvious go-to if you're a master of Siege, but if you've never really played it, I wouldn't recommend it. It's like super ultra good when you're pro at it because that's just how Expo functions. You only need like 1 to 2 lock-ons within a game, but those lock-ons are incredibly hard to engineer. Expo decks only really work in one way. You get the Expo on the tower or you don't. This is a good and bad thing, because if you do get the Expo, then you win the game, and if you don't get the Expo, you can actually use it to go for a 0-0 draw. Along with that, you can of course Fireball cycle whenever that's necessary, but to master Expo, it really requires card and elixir counting, which, maybe not all of you can do, but if you're going for those 20 wins, you probably want to brush up on that anyway. Speaking of those strategies, I'll leave a playlist in the top right now to my videos, which I think are like the most important to becoming pro. You can watch through those, and hopefully you'll do better in the 20-win challenge. The next deck, in my opinion, is probably the highest risk, highest reward on this list, and that's Hog 2.6. It's similar to Expo in the fact that you do need to practice it, but once you practice it a load, it is probably the best deck in the game. The 2 1 elixir cards come in handy when defending. They enable you to protect things like cannons and musketeers, and these 2 alone have enough DPS to stop pretty much any push. Overall, you only actually need 10 Hog Springs to take down a tower, and going for that 1-0 victory with really good defense is probably the way to go with 2.6. After you get about 7 or 8 of those Hog Swings, you can simply Fireball cycle because you're 2.6 and that's what you do. And of course, that versatility with a deck is just very, very nice to have. 4th on this list is probably a more niche or weird deck, and that's going to be Lava Hound Clone. This deck has taken the meta by storm recently, but I'm still going to call it niche because, it's just this one deck that runs Clone. It's definitely the most risky one on this list to use. You'll either ruin whoever you face, or you'll just sort of lose. And this isn't always down to your skill either. Sometimes it is just matchups. If your opponent's running, 4 small spells, then you sort of just lose anyway. It relies on that Clone spell, but that must be used properly. You can also combine that Clone with the Lumberjack's Rage spell, and that is like mad damage. It relies on betting zaps, snowballs, tornadoes with your bats and skeleton army, and then you can push in with Hound and a Lumberjack and then clone it all, and your opponent really has like no answer. Even if you were to like clone a Lumberjack on a tower or something, your opponent still might log or zap that, and then you can go in with a Lava Hound push. This deck requires a huge understanding of rotation. You need to know when that small spell is or isn't in hand, because you don't just want to throw clones on nothing and get it all zapped away. That's precisely how you lose with this deck, actually. Good job. But yeah, use baiting strategies, track the cycle, and then, just clone everything. Easy win. And then my all-time favorite deck is Pekka Bridge Spam. It's just a classic deck. It's so reliable. It's probably your safest bet. If you're just an average player going for a personal win record, then I would definitely suggest using Pekka Bridge Spam. It's been in the meta for like years, and it requires using the Pekka on defense and then split pushing with your Bridge Spam cards. You use the Bandit or the Ghost on smaller pushes to defend, and then you go in with a Battle Ram afterwards. This enables you to get a free troop behind that Battle Ram to just combo. And because it's really, really quick pressure, your opponent has to react pretty much instantly, even if they're low on elixir. You always want to be pushing in with at least 2 of these semi-win conditions, so whether that's a Bandit and a Ghost and a Ram, a Bandit and a Ghost, any of those will work. And of course, if you can do this after defending, then that's even better. It would be my personal choice for the challenge, but that's probably just because I love Bridge Spam so much. So after decks, I have like a few tips. I don't really know what the challenge is going to be exactly, so I'm just going to give you general Royale tips, I guess. So for these special challenges, always try and play as early as you can. The earlier you play, as more people with free entries, and people with free entries are probably less committed to actually playing the game. And that's because they're not willing to spend gems on these 20-win challenges. However, pro players will be if they haven't already got it. So you always want to be playing early. My next tip is really do not aim for the 20 wins. Of course, that is the ultimate goal and point of the challenge, but I really suggest just taking one game at a time. The only target I would really suggest is just going for 13+ wins. That's just because you get a cool number in your profile and, you know, that looks good. But yeah, really just take it one game at a time. When you're thinking of the 20 and you're like 19-2, you're gonna pretty much tilt. But if you just take it one game at a time and you're at 19-2, then you just have to win one game of Royale. I know it's way easier said than done, but just try and get into that mindset. It'll help you out a bunch. Again, not to like promote myself too much, but in the top right corner, if you click the little iCard, you'll see my now Pro Plays playlist. I'd really suggest watching that because, of course, a lot of time went into those videos to help people get better at Royale. And if you want 20 wins, then, you know, maybe even if you know everything in the video, it's a nice refresher. I would also, like, 1,000,000,000% suggest paying for re-entry. It's the only way to get 20 wins on your profile, and the rewards are probably going to be insane. That being the one-time rewards and the actual chest. Even if you don't get the 20 wins, like, it's a good way to level up your account. For me, just assuming it's going to be 10 gems. And it better be 10 gems. And my final point is just do not pay people to do it for you. This has been a whole thing on Twitter recently, and Clash Royale have been like, oh, everyone's gonna get banned, so whatever you do, just, it's not worth it. But yeah, I guess that's all I got for the 20 win video. Hopefully, you know, this was somewhat useful and insightful. There were some decks at the start of the video, and then just some general tips for these longer challenges. Thank you for watching today. You know, best of luck in the 20 win challenge, and adios, boys.